Hi, Brian at Super Shox here. We're doing another Super Shox Rides episode at Ukes Harley Davidson today. Ukes is a pretty cool dealership here in Kenosha, Wisconsin that's been here a long time. We're going to take a look at this place. Beautiful building, great ownership, great staff. If you're looking for something from a Harley Davidson dealer, this is the place to get it. They got all the stuff that you need, and they're happy to set you up and take care of you. Let's go take a quick look around and meet some people. This is Keith Ulicki at Ukes Harley Davidson. Keith's been his family's been in this business for a long time, since 1930. So Keith, tell us a little bit about the history and how Ukes came to be.
Like Brian said, that my father bought the dealership April 1st, 1930. So it paid $250 for that, but you got to remember that was the height of Depression, and he actually had a good factory job in Kenosha. Simmons Bed Company was, but his whole passion was Harley Davidson. So whenever he got off work, he would go to the Harley Davidson dealership, and one day the dealer there asked Frank, he goes, "Frank, I want to get out of business. Would you buy my business from myself?" And so they both went up to Milwaukee and Juneau Avenue, and they went and met with Arthur Davison. And they met with him in the morning, and he spoke to him, and the dealer said, "Frank would like to buy my business. Would you let him?" And Arthur goes, "Well, I'll tell you what, you guys go to lunch. When you come back from lunch, I'll tell you if Frank can buy the business or not." Came back for lunch, and sure enough, Arthur said, "Yes, Frank, you can buy the business." So my father bought the business, like I said, April 1st, 1930, and put a good factory job, height of Depression, so that was kind of crazy at that time, but like I said, again, his love was for Harley Davidson. So the first day of business, people put a dollar bill up behind their counter. Well, that day he took in 4 cents. He sold a bolt for 4 cents. That was his intake, not profit. That was his intake for that day. So my dad's name is Frank, but most people knew him as Uke, because our last name is Ulicki, and they used to call him ukulele. So from ukulele, it got down to Uke. So in honor of my father, when I took over the business, I called Ukes Harley Davidson, and that was back about in 1999. So it's only my father and myself have run this dealership. So we're 94 years in business right now. And that's a picture of my father. So he used to pick up parts and motorcycles. When they built motorcycles, Harleys, at Juneau Avenue, he would pick up the bike there or parts and bring it back.
On that
box. We call it that the van, but everybody thinks it's the minivan. No, this is a van that had only an open box. You would put the bike in there or parts in there and bring the parts back.
Yeah.
And my father and my mother never owned or drove a car. We only got around by either the van or a sidecar. That was it. So it didn't matter when or nothing. Born and raised in Kenosha, it was always on motorcycles. Never in a car. Until my brother's old enough, which is 4 years older than I am, was old enough to get a driver's license, and then we finally got a family car. So it's all pure motorcycles. Also, through the years in the business, my dad territory was also in Kenosha and also in the Waukegan, which is the south of here. So he put his brother in, which his nickname was CD, as a sub-dealer in Waukegan, and Harley turned that into a full-line dealership. And my other dad's brother, was Petey, Harley Davidson hired him away from my dad and put him in R&D in Harley Davidson, which he retired from Harley Davidson there. And also my brother actually worked at Harley. He retired after 33 years at Harley Davidson. So I have a standing joke that we had more Ulickis working at Harley Davidson than the Davidsons had working at Harley Davidson. And also now my niece works at Harley Davidson. So it's pure orange in our blood. So that's what our blood is orange. So it's all pure Harley Davidson, and we love motorcycling. So let's come on inside And as I tell any customers come in, you're walking into my house, because I spend more time living here, awake here in the dealership than I do in my house. So come on inside. So as we walk inside, all the pictures you see in the dealership is family pictures. So I like to have you. It's my parents, and you can see back then they even had really nice clothes. Back in the 30s, that's a picture of my mom and dad. We'll go to your left here. That's actually that's the first professional race I was in. And like I mentioned, my brother's 4 years older than him. So he's 23G. So he's an expert. And when you started racing, you start as you're not a novice, and then you work your way through. So this was Santa Fe Racetrack, which is in Hinsdale, Illinois. First race I've been, and they let the experts, and they're called amateurs at that time, and novices run together, and it was actually the first professional race I was in, and that's my brother. So if you can capture this one pretty good on the left.
Is it Rich?
They're actually,
That one's hard to see with the light.
yeah. That one's almost hot. I don't know if we can capture that or not. So this is in Kenosha Airport. It was a grass runway at that time, and they're playing polo with stock motorcycles. So they're kicking a ball, got a foot clutch, hand shifting, and playing polo with big bikes. So what would they do is they ride their street bike there, take off wherever they thought would break if they crash, and then they were playing polo.
Yeah, that's pretty neat. That's something.
So as we walk through the dealership, my dad started the first Kenosha Motorcycle Club back in 1939. Any name you see in red is either on my dad's side or my mom's side in the club. And we had the meetings. We'll look at all our locations, but that was the second location you would run at the club, the color house in the basement. So let's grab this picture right over here. So you can see the van. The picture we seen outside the plaque, it showed the motorcycle with the van on it. And so on this picture, it was a popper, 1948 popper, and you can see he actually raised up the motorcycle so you could see it. So he was in a parade to show off the bike. You can see that paper mache in the front wheel, and also a fender. It's got some paper mache on it. So he was obviously showing the bike off, like I say, in a parade. The car in the background is actually a neighbor's car. That is not our car. So, like I said, we never had a car. So, but that's how he picked up parts, and also the motorcycles at Juvenile Avenue in Milwaukee when they were building the bikes in Milwaukee.
Right, so just pick up one bike at a time.
One bike, or what sometimes all the bikes were rideable. So sometimes actually it would take North Shore train. It would take a train up to Milwaukee with a group of people, well, maybe just like 3 guys, and they would ride the bikes back also. So the North Shore track actually ran between Chicago and Milwaukee, and it was the fastest train at that time, I think, in the United States. They would do it that way. So as we walk over here, it's a picture of my 3 cousins, and they lived on a farm. So I can see chickens in the background, tricycles there. And when my dad would show up, he would always want to jump on a motorcycle and go for a ride. So they would sit in front of him, because my dad always thought it was safer for a child to sit in front and in the back, because you could see him, and then you have the child protected between your arms, and like they're called tank babies then, but they always loved sitting on a motorcycle. So as we continue looking at the family pictures, that is a picture of my father at the first dealership when he purchased it in 1930. And basically we rented that building for about 10 years, and then he moved and bought a business, and actually we lived above the business. So we'll see a picture of that later on. In fact, then it's a picture of my mom riding a motorcycle, and my dad was the oldest sibling in his family, and my mom was the oldest sibling in her family. And he didn't want to get married until he bought the house and the dealership underneath it. And they ended up eloping on a motorcycle on Friday night and went to Dubuque and got married, and went on an endurance run on the way back. So definitely a motorcycle 100%. And it shows myself racing at Indianapolis Mile. I'm doing about 130 at that time. Love racing, and traveling the United States, and meeting a lot of great people in the racing.
What was your favorite type of track? Was it the miles, the half miles?
Well, actually, I tell you, it depends. Santa Fe short track was awesome on a 250 sprint. It was really a neat bike. If you want to say a half-mile track, it was probably Louisville, Kentucky. The pea gravel, you can't beat a pea gravel racetrack. Indianapolis was the best mile I ever rode until I rode Springfield Mile. By far, Springfield Mile is the best mile in the United States. It's the shape of it, the dirt of it, it's spectacular. On the Springfield Mile, if the track's made right, you never shut off the throttle. You just pitch it off and hold it wide open all the way around. So yeah, Springfield Mile I'm glad that Springfield Mile came back before I retired and I could race it. I think I only raced it twice before I retired. And then the next three series pictures are my dad hill climbing. And hill climbing, what you would do, you see him like his hands in the air. Actually, he's throwing the bike up the hill, because if you couldn't make it up all over the hill, you would actually toss the bike forward. You didn't have to be on a bike, and they would measure where your bike in feet up the hill was. So that was a very common practice in hill climbing. And you hope the bike didn't come back and chase you.
Yeah, that'd be a problem.
It does happen. In fact, my dad actually got a broken leg because he was running a timer, and the bike came back and broke his leg. Yeah. And then myself racing on the XR 750, just down, feet up on a peg, throttle wide open, and broadside. That's basically showing off.
That's got to be a great feeling.
It is great, because they have it broadsiding like that, and it's funny because you turn the handlebars, you turn them right to go left on the racetrack. So
yeah. You
steer with the back wheel, you don't steer with the front wheel. So to have to do something like that, it's pretty rare. It's a really fun thing to do, but the track's got to be like perfect water and everything to be able to do that. And then in the signage we see here, actually the signages that we had on all our different dealerships. The one particular sign that actually, now Harley's really bringing back the #1 and the stars of that, but back when Harley bought themselves out of AMF, we didn't have enough money to actually put a new face on the sign, so you can't really see it. You got to look really close. Sometimes you can see it from up on the balcony there, that you can actually see that we painted out AMF on there.
6 or 700, right, whatever. So.
Have you ever ridden one of the lowriders?
So for our special events, we have a daily all set up here, so we can cater and have a nice party, VIP parties here that we run. It works out really well for us.
So you can see that here at Ukes, it's about the ride. When you come into Ukes, it's like coming into your family to hang out with your friends. And that's what this dealership's all about. It's about the ride. They want to help you get your bike set up for you the way you like it. Whether it's a new bike or a used bike or fixing your old bike up or doing some service, whatever you need. It's about the motorcycle and the ride and family and friends. What should we take a look at here now, Keith?
I think, Bobby, we should, let's go up to our museum so we kind of can show everybody where my father started when he bought the dealership, the second location, and the third location, and this is our fourth location. So get a better feel of how this evolved over time. And it didn't happen overnight, a building like this. My father could never believe that we could be in this size of a building when he started off.
Well, at 4 cents a day, I can understand why.
I think maybe let's go maybe up the stairs.
So this is a unique feature to Ukes Harley Davidson, and that's a museum upstairs. And this building is something that you designed yourself, you and Nancy, right?
Yes. Yeah. It's from being in the business this many years, and my wife was an architect, so definitely help things out.
Was this your scooter when you were 3?
No, I never had anything this nice. But, a customer did this, and pretty cool.
Yeah.
And did the Serby car and then the scooter.
Wow, those are handmade or something? Somebody built these?
I don't know. I have never seen anything like this around ever.
Yeah.
It's pretty cool.
Yeah, very.
So we actually had our museum before Harley got opened their museum. So when Willie G came here for our grand opening, he fell in love with the polished floor. If you go to Harley Museum, it has a polished floor. And also we did a tank wall. So Harley did a tank wall. But
yeah.
I feel ours is better. Ours is better designed because we have ours in a V, which Harley's famous for, right?
Yeah.
So, and then we had the tanks. Also, in our second location, we had a fire in 1960. If you look close at some of the tanks on the left, that was in the fire.
Oh.
Yeah. The building did not burn down, but the business had burned pretty well. And then also we had a lot of smoke damage upstairs. So then he built the building up to the third location. So, like I said, I see my racing pictures up there. I should adjust this one. I know this is the other day.
How many years did you race?
I can remember when I started racing, but I can't remember when I quit racing. That's so funny. I mean, when I was 14, I sportsman raced, but you had to be 18 to be professional racing. So as soon as I turned 18, I became professional racing. And I don't know, somewhere in the mid 80s I quit. I can't tell you exactly when. I just got actually tired traveling on the road all the time and pounding the pavement to go to the races. I love being at the racetrack, but it got so crazy doing all the miles. Sometimes we put on 50 to 75,000 miles in a year going to the races. So we race, when it was really popular, we raced Wednesday night, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. So that was what I did for a living.
It was full time, yeah.
Yeah. So, and that's like I said, that's putting a lot of miles. It shows I won Sturgis twice in my racing career that I'm very proud of. And also, this poster was made during the 100th anniversary of Harley. And if you look at the second line from the bottom, my name's on there. So, Heroes of Harley Davidson for 100 years.
Nice.
And if you look next to it, it's Frank Ulicki. So like I mentioned, my dad's name is Frank Ulicki. My brother's name I didn't mention is Frank Ulicki. So I tell my brother Frank, that's our dad up there. Frank says that's him up there. So we have an argument back and forth, but there he is.
Yeah.
So we were very heavy in wheels. I got to know Eric very well when I was racing my dirt bike because I had a dyno at our dealership, and when he's making his Buell, the Barton Road Racer RW750, he would bring his bike at night to our dealership and run the dyno. So I got to know him very well. So I would be working on my XR and he'd be working on his road race bike, developing the road race bike. So,
Yeah.
So
Great bikes.
yeah. So in fact, we're gonna jump a little bit. So this is our, actually, this was our second location. This is where we actually had the fire in it. Like I say, didn't burn the whole building down, but we had to eventually have to move when we could build a new building.
Yeah.
And this is actually this building here. That's a picture of that on 22nd Avenue. It was an uptown Italian neighborhood. You can see it's a residential area. What is really funny with this picture, it took me actually a couple years. At one of our anniversaries, we made these posters and we put them everywhere. Well, the 4 locations of where his dealerships were, and this is what we made, and we put it on a tripod. So when we got done with the event, we brought it, we put it up on the wall. So that's my dad pointing at us. If you look really close inside, there's 2 kids in there sitting on bikes.
Oh yeah.
So my dad would never let us come down to the dealership because he said it's a business. Go back upstairs because you could go upstairs inside and go from the house down. So my dad's outside. So my brother and I sneaks downstairs and we're sitting on the bikes.
So you lived upstairs?
Yeah, we lived upstairs. Yeah. And like I said, we'll show a little bit better picture of that.
So it was live, eat, breathe Harley Davidson.
Yeah.
Ride motorcycles.
Yeah, well, because it's back then. I mean, that took a long time. My dad was a one-man band. Sold the bikes, sold the parts, worked on the bikes, and did all the paperwork. I mean, that lasted for years. So I would never see him. My mom really raised us, even with being upstairs and he's downstairs. He's just pure business.
Working. Yeah.
So there's no way. And then what he'd do, he actually would open the dealership at 9, close at 6, go eat between 6 and 7:30, and open it back up 7:30 to 9. Did that Monday through Friday, and then Saturday he would go from 9 to 6 on Saturdays. Yeah,
He worked a lot.
Sunday, yeah. But also took places since we lived above, and then when we had the fire, when he built the new dealership, he built the house next door so he could walk to work. So like Sundays, people would knock on the door, hey, I need a battery. He'd go out there and sell a battery.
Yeah.
Even if his finally his day off, he'd still get up and, okay, I'll take care of you.
Yeah, right.
So this is actually a motorcycle my dad actually it didn't look like this. He'll climb a 74, stripped down, and the ice race is 74, but without the sidecar body on it. So I had it restored. Lucky we still had this bike, and because my dad was never a collector of bikes, he always sold bikes. He's the stay in business. He's always, I gotta sell bikes. So this is pretty rare that we have a bike that he actually rode. And my dad rode until he was 84 years old.
Wow.
86, I'm sorry. The only reason he stopped riding is because he had open heart surgery. And when you open heart surgery, they break over your chest bone, and he didn't have the upper body strength anymore to ride. So he stopped riding then. But yeah, 86 years old when he stopped riding.
I'm sure it didn't sit well with him having to ride in the car.
No. And like I said, so we had the box, the van, or we rode in the sidecar with 3 other kids when we were small, and my mom would sit on the buddy seat. But when I was small, I would sleep way up in a tunnel here underneath. But that's how we got around. And back then, Harley Davidson had clothing, what they called Arctic suits. I'll tell you what, the name was good, but the clothing was not that good. It was no way it was close to Arctic. It was cold. They were cold.
Yeah, not like today's technology.
No, not at all. Especially then, and besides that, with that electric gear and all that.
Yeah, right. We're spoiled.
Yes, yeah, we are. So this is also a survey car that we took back from Kenosha Police Department, and my dad drove this around for a while. So this is a tip that I'm going to give you guys and girls, that most people say the first electric start motorcycle was the bike we just seen with the sidecar, 65 Pan with the sidecar. That's not true. It's a 1964 survey car with electric start. So you can win any bet you want when you ask people what's the first electric start motorcycle, Harley Davidson, 64 survey car. So we'll split the proceeds at which win. So this is the dealership that my dad bought. This part right here. So it was a strip mall. They had strip malls back then. Since my dad was a bachelor, he picked the perfect spot, because next to him was a restaurant, a great Italian restaurant, and then it was a car dealership service. And so he basically, like I say, ran a dealership there for 10 years until he could afford the building we moved into. And there we go. So this is the when he moved out of, that's where we had the fire, and I was born and raised in that until about the 3rd grade, and we had the fire, and that's when we moved. But that was the business he sold with in the like I say in the 40s until we had the fire in 60, and then we moved out here in 61. So then, let's just show people what the Harleys looked like back then. This is a 1930 Harley. But amazing, some of this is original literature, and some of it survived the fire. But you can see, 1932, a bike sold for $195.
Wow.
But if you really look close through this wood wall, you see people put actually 4 cents down.
Oh, yeah.
For good luck. So you see, it's all lined up with pennies, which I think is really cool that people did, when they know the story, what they did.
Yeah, yeah. It all started with 4 cents.
Yeah, yeah. You might be able to get the angle, maybe we can see the AMF before we jump. You kind of see
Oh, I do see.
See that?
Yeah.
You can see where the different
It's
color
blacked
is.
out. Yep. What do we got here?
So this is an interesting story. Nestle Chocolate Company is out in Burlington, which is about 15 miles west of here. And every year they have what they call Chocolate Fest. So in 2003, when Harley was at the 100th anniversary, I sponsored Chocolate Fest. So they said, since you sponsor it, we'll carve off Harley Davidson for you, 1,000 pounds of chocolate.
Wow.
And it goes, we got a carver coming in from Pennsylvania. He'll carve up anything you want. Well, I said, okay. I said, at that time, fat boys were popular. I said, carve out a fat boy. Well, that's not a fat boy. So when he was a child, 1957 Sportster came out, and he fell in love with it. So guess what I got? I got a 57 Sportster. So what took place then too, when the festival was all over, I said, okay, I'm gonna come pick this up. He goes, oh, what do you mean you're gonna pick it up? Up to this time, he goes, we smash everyone afterwards because we can't have the liability if somebody eats it and gets sick. So I said, I tell you what, I'll sign anything you want, and I'll take all the liability. And sure enough, I got it. And he said, well, it's only going to last 3 or 4 years, and then it's going to be gone. Well, now we're, 21 years later, and it's still here. Obviously, it's starting to chalk up and all that, but it's still there, Chocolate Harley.
Yeah.
And when we first moved this in, as soon as you walked in the door, you smelled the chocolate.
That's amazing.
Yeah, it is.
At least we know that the air conditioning's never gone out here.
That's basically what it is. Else it'd be melted down.
Yeah.
That's why it's still here.
Yeah, fantastic.
And I know a lot of people probably don't know Harley Davidson made golf carts. So back in the early '70s, Harley dominated the golf cart business. They came out with a very innovative golf cart. Now it's got surpassed by other manufacturers, but at that time, they made a fantastic golf cart. Also, what they did is they would make the golf cart in the wintertime, and then in the summertime they would end up actually making snowmobiles. So that company, it actually was Capitol Drive, and they would switch off production snowmobiles, golf carts. Okay, we've seen some literature that didn't get burned. Well, this is Enthusiast that Harley came out, which is came out back in the early '30s. And what they would do is at the end of the year, they would put all the monthly books together and do a hard bound cover book. So you can actually see some of the stuff that's smoked. And also, these are very rare because they're in the '40s during the wartime. So it's very rare to have something in any time in the middle of the war in World War II. So you can see the old spark plugs and.
Yeah, very cool. Gas tanks on this side too.
Yeah, over there and there. So we had enough tanks laying around. So
yeah,
you get the tank well. I mean, that's obviously the Italian models, the Buell clock, and also Sportster gas tank OK model. Gas tanks on that side.
Very cool.
So that's a picture my wife did. We took a picture at the racetrack, and going through architecture school, you have to go through art school also. So you can see there was all darts. So she's sitting on my race bike and painted the picture.
Huh. Nice. Very neat.
So up here, why we did a balcony in the museum up here, because we feel you get the best view of looking over the Harleys and the beautiful bikes, all the colors you see. In fact, you can see we have done kind of a brown and black, so we want to make the picture of the Harley sitting on a road. So that's why we did it in this color. And then if you look close, we actually put mirror chips in it too to represent really how much chrome usually Harley has, and you can see the mirror chips in the floor.
Yeah. So
and there's no floor patterns here. So if we feel like we have a big event and it's going to be more of a t-shirts and clothing type of event, we can move the bikes out here. We can move more clothing in, or vice versa, move more bikes in here and shore up the clothing. So it's very universal of what we did.
yeah, and a lot of thought went into every aspect of the design and function of the building. And now, when did you move into this building?
February of 2003, because we wanted to be what we seen at the location that we're our third location. We're basically 5 miles off I-94. So when Harley started doing events every 5 years, we had people coming in to Kenosha, those 5 miles, but we knew a lot of people were going by because they didn't want to stop at the 5 miles, right? So we started looking for property out here back in about 93 at that time, and in 93 couldn't afford the property out here. Just couldn't do it. Wanted to, but we knew we had to be on I-94. So we started thinking about it again, and this property was for sale at that time. So in 99, we said, we got to do the move. So the person that owns that property never changed the price. So obviously prices kept on going up, right? He kept the price the same, so we ended up buying this property. So we actually ran our main store, and then there's a building next door. We did a secondary location out of that store. So we had 2 stores running at that time. Actually did it for experiment to see if people would come out. In Kenosha, there's boundaries: Highway 31, I-94, and some people don't cross the state line. So we just didn't know if people would come out, and yes, we obviously it was worked out very well. So then we knew to build this building before Harley 100th anniversary. So that's why we moved in February, so we could get it up running. Did some test runs about running big events, and the rest is history. So
Yeah.
and we're here. Like I said, my dad could never imagine this location, because our third location, we built that building, that was 5,400 square feet. You know, and this is like just over 60.
Yeah.
He would never.
Did he ever see this building?
No, he passed away. My mom did, thank heavens,
Oh.
because my dad passed away in 2000, and my mom was able to see the building, so it was at least my mom got to see it.
Yeah.
You know. Then we'll go down the elevator. And John did that.
John Tierney.
I think you were here. I think you might have been here. You stopped by it.
Yeah.
But great job.
Yeah, John's a fabulous painter.
So we have an elevator here that's that you can take a motorcycle with a sidecar up. Because this is the third floor, basically, of the mezzanine. You can go down to the service to the first floor, or our basement. We have a full basement down here. So or with a three-wheeler, a trike. So this elevator, since the size of it, let's see, does it say it? It says, yeah, 10 tons. So, I mean 10,000. So 5,000 tons, 5 tons this elevator can handle, just because of the size of it.
Yeah.
Good for safety.
So here we are in the basement.
I don't know if we need to see this part. But this is basic bikes we're working on. We store over 300 bikes, so
For winter storage.
winter storage bikes.
So your bike is well taken care of here for winter storage, heated, and battery chargers are on them, and maintenance can be done, and they don't got to go far, just up the elevator.
And secure.
Yeah, very secure. Yeah. So here we are coming into service.
So this is our service department. We had 2 bays, lifts for each tech. Also, personally on my bike, I have Super Shox. They're the best shocks I ever had on a Harley Davidson. I did experiment. I picked up a new bike this year, early spring, and we do a memorial ride for my dad every spring. So I pre-rode it with the regular stock springs, the shocks on it, and then I put the Super Shox on it, did the same path, and I could not believe the difference in ride. It was totally amazing. Night and day difference. The bumps that I felt with the shocks, you definitely would feel it on when I put the Super Shox on it. Couldn't you tell the bumps went away? So I'm very impressed with it, and this is not the first time I had Super Shox. I did it basically since Brian came out, so I had them. In fact, this is the same shock I had on several different bikes. I just keep on taking them off the bike and putting it on the bike I ride. So fantastic shocks.
Glad you're happy with the ride, Keith. That's why we do it.
Oh my God, I can't believe it. Also, that's right. We bought a 2003 sidecar job, and that thing rode terrible. I could not believe it. I put the Super Shox even on that bike. I could not believe how much nicer that bike rode. Totally amazing. It blew me away. Totally blew me away. So if you don't have them, get them.
So they're prepared for all types of service work, from full builds, engine work. They got a dyno room here. You can do anything you want to do.
Even a shovel.
Even an old shovel head. A lot of dealerships won't work on anything that's more than 10 years old, but Ukes will work on any bike, any Harley, any age.
And then what we did is also, I think a couple of important things we did. Let's go outside. What I seen when we designed this building, I seen what I didn't want to do, not what I wanted to do. So, but what I seen walking in dealerships is you walk in the front door to when you buy the bike. But when you buy the bike, we're a service. It's around back. Why would you make things different for when they buy the bike or when they service the bike? So we have our service department entrance basically right by the front door.
Yeah.
So the front door is right there, and then you drive your bike up. Doors open automatically. And you walk them into the dealership. To me, I feel that's very critical. And why do you treat a service person second rate to the person buying a bike?
Right. All very important aspects.
And you can see our display, Super Shox.
Right here on the counter. And the sign says it all. It's about the ride. Well, Keith, this was a great tour and incredible history at your store and your dealership and your family. And Super Shox is very proud to be able to have our products sold through your store. It's a fantastic place for riders to come and improve their ride, whether it be suspension or anything else. Motor clothes, you got it all going on here. Even just a place to come hang out and stop in. Say hello. It's all about the ride and the people. Thank you very much.
Hang on, before we end, I gotta tell you a story about Brian that he told me a couple months ago. He had to come up here to deliver some shocks. It's raining outside, so he goes, should I ride my bike or should I take the truck? He goes, well, Uke never had a car, so why should I take my truck? Put his rain gear on and rode up and delivered the shocks on his motorcycle. So that's how cool this guy is.
Yeah, well, I just got a lot of respect for what your dad started and created and what you've carried on, and to be able to show respect for that and only come to Ukes if you're on a motorcycle. Now, you can come in your car too, you don't have to come on a motorcycle only, but for me, it just means a little something special that maybe nobody really notices. It's just my thing, but it's what I think. I got respect for it, and I'm happy to. Even when I bought my new bike here a couple years back, a 21, it was in December, and I rode it home. So it's just what you do. I couldn't put it in a trailer. I'd feel ashamed of myself if I did something like that here. But anyway, thank you very much.
You're welcome. Thanks for being here.
Oh, you're
Brian.
welcome. Thank you.